training hard, it is hard.
Yeah.
So when you're like in it, then it's quite easy. If you're like pushing hard every day, then it's you're getting used to it. But to push your body to the limit in training, it is not easy, and that's what I'm like triggering now. And I talked about earlier about the focus, how hard it is to focus over a longer period. It gets even harder when you're pushing harder.
Oh yeah.
So like the focus now, I would say that's pretty close to my previous best, but now it's more like to trigger the high performance and the hunger and the desperation and just that part of triathlon.
The Norwegian method.
I'm Gustav Iden, 3 times world champion and Kona record holder.
I'm Dr. David Lippman, a health and human performance specialist, and welcome to the Norwegian Method podcast.
The Norwegian Method.
Join Centaur Attack members Clubhouse. You get exclusive content, in-person and online events, offers from partners, and so much more. Join at centauroattack.com/membership.
Welcome back to the Norwegian Method podcast. Joining me today, Gustav Iden. Thanks for joining, Gustav.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I mean, thank you for having me in Bergen, which is it's been lovely.
I feel like kind of like a host here.
Yeah.
Like I'm really proud of my town.
Yeah. Well, I actually we'll start there then, because new house here. Congratulations. How does it feel owning a space?
It feels good. Like it's a lot of responsibility and it's a lot of things to do. My house is from 1919.
Wow.
So old. Yep. I have a couch in the house that is built into the staircase, and it's from the original from the house from 1919. So it's made of real leather. So like the cows from that leather walked around in the first Great War. It's insane how like historic it is. So Bergen is one of the most beautiful towns in the world as well, because everything I feel like walking in the street is so historic and a lot of old buildings and it's very cool.
Beautiful churches as well, I've noticed. Yeah. Is anyone allowed to sit on the couch? Or is it
couch? I do it. Sometimes I sleep in it during the day. Like it's very uncomfortable to sit in, but to sleep in the middle of the day after a good swim session, it's good.
Okay, and is that because you're just tired and anything would be comfortable? You can sleep on the floor.
Yeah, possibly.
I actually asked Kristian this on the episode I recorded with him today, but it was released a handful of episodes ago. About something that you guys say, well, that people from Bergen say, which is we're not from Norway, we're from Bergen.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's how do you feel about that when you think about Bergen? Like, is it something that you're proud of Bergen, you just said that, but is it something you think about that you're representing Bergen when you're competing? Is it something that you feel a great ownership of being from Bergen?
Yeah, I do feel like we are our own people. We are not like some of our qualities are not the same as the rest of Norway. We are more honest, I think, and more loud in some of the things, and just more in general proud of ourselves and the city and everything. Yeah.
And how does that manifest in you? Like, how do you think you are different to other Norwegians personally, like in terms of that sort of thing? Like, what part of you do you look at and you go, geez, that is because I grew up in Bergen?
I think I can be more open about my ambitions and goals and my own feelings as well. It's not layered there. I can just say it how it is. The same with a lot of people from Bergen. Like, we can say that Bergen is the best city in the world, and I can say I'm the best triathlete in the world, and it's something that we truly believe in.
Yeah, that's very cool. I really like that. It's not to be misconstrued with arrogance, but a true confidence and honesty. I like that. let's talk a little bit about where you're at. So obviously people would have heard your previous 2 episodes. We recorded those when we were up at Sierra Nevada.
Yeah.
You were prepping for Mallorca. We talked about your racing plans for the year. Let's get a bit of an update. How did Mallorca go?
Mallorca was like I had an okay swim, nothing great. Like my ambition there was just to finish with honor. So the swim was like when you're struggling, not big time, but a little bit, and you see a gap opening up, but the ambition is just to be there, then it's really hard to motivate yourself to really swim over your ability for just a few seconds to pass on people to be with the group. So I decided to relax a little bit on the swim because, yeah, as I said, my ambition was just to finish decently. And I got onto the bike and was riding quite controlled in the start, quite easy. And then I caught up with the first group, and then I passed the whole first group because the big hill was coming up. And I thought about it was some tactical. It could be smart to be first into the hill. Like my plan was not to be in the first group at all. Like my plan was just to, yeah, as I said, finish. But then I was there and I kind of like caught in the moment a little bit. So I ended up passing the whole group, being first into the hill. And like I learned some tactics from Tor Hushovd, one of the greatest Norwegian cyclists ever. And he was usually like first into the hill when it was a big sprint coming up. So he could like fall through the group and then hopefully latch onto the last one and then roll over the top of the hill and still be with the group. So that's what my ambition was. But then like the level and power going up the hill was just way, way, way too hard for me. And I wasn't trained for that at all. And they were pushing insane numbers for me. I was pushing hard. I was pushing way harder than I was supposed to, and I knew that this was trouble coming to the run. But in the end, it was no run. I had a flat tire going into the downhill, and like when my ambition was just to finish, I should have brought some spare tubes and pump, but I decided against it because tubeless is usually really, really good, and almost every puncture I ever had sealed up perfectly and I could continue riding. This time I hit a bit of a, too big of a hole and it didn't seal up. So maybe I should have done something else and brought the tools with me, but I didn't, and there was no rolling mechanic with us at this race, so I waited there for some time before I got picked up by a car. Was super disappointing because all I had to do was to finish. I just had to finish 2 half Ironmans to validate for Kona, and couldn't even do that. So pretty disappointing. And
so, I mean, that's obviously very disappointing. What does that mean for you now? Like, you went home, we talked already in previous episodes about how you don't really like to evaluate your races, particularly bad ones. So I guess did you do any evaluation? Are you going to carry stuff next time, or is it just, listen, that one's done and let's move on to the next thing?
I'm doing Poland actually next weekend when this is recorded, and we'll see. I think I'll bring a pump with me, or like a CO2 cartridge. Yep. But maybe I never learn.
Yep, maybe.
But I did feel decent. Like I felt my legs had something to do on the bike, and my body was feeling alive. So overall a disappointing race, but I still find some highlights, and I still think that I'm on the right direction to Kona.
Yeah, and you'd been working very hard on your swim. How do you felt your swim developed?
Yeah, the swim, like, to be honest, I was so, stressed going into this race. I don't know, because, like, my ambition, as I said, was pretty low, like, to finish. It shouldn't be anything to stress about at all, but, I felt like I didn't know how to compete almost. And even though it was no pressure, I still felt, pressured in some ways. And I just felt like I was super tense going into the race, and I tried to relax. I tried to just focus on my on my what I was supposed to focus on, like on the technique and on the bike. I tried to focus on like the smaller details going into the race, but I don't know, I was just super tense and like my muscle was just stressed. So I think I'm a much better swimmer than what I got to show in that race. But I mean, racing is what we're being evaluated from. So in Poland, I would just try to relax even more and stay calm. And now I'm gonna stay at home for this week and just go straight to the race. In Mallorca, I was there a few days before to get into the race vibes. Not sure if that was the decision, but it was super beautiful to be there. But racing is it is something special, and especially when we've been away for some time. I'm sure a lot of age grouper can see themselves also in this, that they get a bit stressed and uneased going into the race, and maybe underperforming sometimes, overperforming other times, and that's like uncertainty makes it exciting, but it's also a bit stressful when you don't know the outcome.
Yeah, I think I was actually reflecting on that as you were saying it. I was thinking that there's a lot in this for age group is around the psychological stress and what that does to the body and your ability to perform and rating of perceived exertion and trying to hit that optimal arousal level, right? So you don't want to be overstressed, you don't want to be understressed, right? So if you turned up to Mallorca maybe, you know, in maybe not 2019, maybe post Kona, post winning Kona, I don't really care about this race. Like you could be under aroused, but in this context, when you're coming back and there's probably pressure and you're thinking, I want to perform, I want to run well, I want to finish this, and people think I should win, and all those things, right? And I'm sure the media was part of it as well. So I'm sure there was a level of stress there for you, and I think
Thank you, Plasmade, for sponsoring this episode. The way I use Plasmade is usually before my hard swim, bike or run sessions. I use it to increase my flow of oxygen within the blood. So I feel like it's hard to really describe the feeling, but I know my body really, really well. And the way it works for me is that I feel like the blood is more efficient in taking up the oxygen. So it's maybe not that I have directly higher oxygen uptake, but the transportation is more efficient, and I can swim faster with less breathing, which is ideal for training. Experience the benefit of Plasmade for yourself. Use the code TRY20 online and get 20% off your next purchase.
It'll be interesting to see how, I mean, maybe that's the question to you, is how are you feeling going into Poland? Are you more relaxed about it? Is it more stressful because now you have to validate, right? You still haven't got your second one?
I still have to finish 2. So I think this race, it's better for me. Like the level also in Mallorca was really good. It was a pro series race. So a lot of the big stars in the half Ironman world was there. And the one in Poland now, it's a bit more low key. It's less prize money, it's less athletes, it's less everything basically. And also I'm doing testing this week, so my mind is still now focused on the testing coming on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So it's good to have something else to focus on as well.
Yeah, we talked about testing with Kristian, and I think if you haven't heard that in our episode 3 with Kristian, go back and listen to the volume that is coming Gustav's way this week. It would surprise most physiologists to see what that testing actually looks like. It's quite intense, so that doesn't surprise me. You're a bit aware and concerned of that.
Yeah. So I think the testing is good because then I don't have to focus on any training session this week.
Yep.
Like the training comes for free basically. You just have to focus on the test days, and then I will travel to Poland and see how it goes.
Yeah, and the most important question, do they have a support car there, a rolling mechanic or not?
I think so. I don't know. But in Mallorca, for the ones who have done that one, the bike course, the midsection there is super tight. So I completely understand why they don't have the rolling mechanic, because that it's a beautiful course, but it's not ideal for following cars.
Yeah, it was also difficult as somebody who's watching. I tried to watch you, and the footage was a bit
limited.
Yeah, it was like dropping in and out. So good challenges there. I'm sure a beautiful course, but a bit of challenging. So on that, we previously talked, and you mentioned that you enjoy the high level of competition. Right now, Poland's the opposite. Is that about pressure, or were you going to do Poland anyway? What was the story?
Poland is just because it fits into my schedule.
Yep.
So it's good because then I can travel straight from there to Fontremeux.
Yep.
And then I will have Les Sables end of the month.
Yep.
So just because it fits good.
Yeah.
Like if it was a Pro Series race, I would still have done it.
Yeah, so it's less about everything else and more about listening to
practicality.
Yeah. Which is a real thing for Ironman triathletes, right? You've got some like Emma Pallant-Brown who will do blocks of racing so she can spend time in Europe and then go, or in the US and then go home, right, to South Africa. So it doesn't surprise me there. And important, right, as well. You also get to recover your first week while you're at altitude as you're adapting to the altitude. Yeah. And then come off altitude well and race there. So
less muscular impact the first week, but maybe have some good volume, trade some of my runs in for some hikes. Yep. Just get the volume in while I still recover from the race. And it's good because, can just spend some time getting used to the altitude before like the real work starts week 2. So it's pretty, even though the recovery time is longer in altitude, it's still good to combine the recovery phase with the acclimatization in altitude.
Yeah, well, according to Kristian, in his episode that we had, we recorded this morning, he said it's not really altitude because you don't really feel it because it's so low.
He's Kristian, you know. He doesn't really count.
I love that. And let's talk about where you're at. So previously we talked, you were building back some run volume. Obviously you didn't get to show that on race day in Mallorca. I'm sure people are interested to hear where you're at. Yeah,
it's continuous improvement. Last week was my highest training volume in a year.
Awesome.
So I mean, it's not bragging numbers, but that's not why I do the training anyway. But I think I had 26 hours last week. Okay. So it's still some hours left to my good weeks of the last few years. But it's been good. I have been gradually increasing my running. Yep. So around 40-50k a week now, which is half of what's normal. Yep. But my bike was good. Swim is decent. Yep. So getting better and better.
And a significant step up from last time we talked, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
This is as much about me learning as much as the audience. But I think last time we talked, you were around 15 hours, maybe 12 even. Yeah. And you were probably at 30 Ks a week at the time. So it's a significant step up. And that's only, Sierra Nevada was, I think, April? Yeah. I'm not sure. But so not too long. So it's good to hear the trajectory is in the right direction and it's quite a quick build. So that's awesome to see. Let's do some other talking. I've got some other questions for you. Some of them I've garnered from other people. Some of them I've come up with myself. One of the questions we had was around some more technical Ironman stuff. So it's nice of me to have had some help on this. 2019, you raced Nice, half Ironman. You used a normal road bike, not a time trial bike. What are you thinking when you race Nice as an Ironman? Would you use a time trial bike or...
I will for sure use a time trial bike, or a triathlon bike. Okay. Especially for the full distance, then it's even less technical than a half distance. Okay. It's a lot of flat sections, and it's not really a question to use a road bike there if you're a pro. Yep. I think it was some other athletes doing a road bike when we did half Ironman 2019. Yep. But still then it's debatable which was best. For me, it was practicality. I did have a TT bike, but it was not very good. It was super heavy and the brakes didn't function too well. I used it in Bahrain the year before, but in Bahrain you don't need to brake. So it was an okay bike, but it was, I would never use that in Nice because it was just not safe. Yeah. So the road bike was just more practical. Also, we had the grand final the week before in Lausanne. Yep. So I didn't want to change my bike position too much. So that's why I used a road bike there. But for the full distance, I will for sure use the TT bike. And now Giant will come with disc brakes as well, which is good for that course. I am kind of a fan of rim brakes on the TT bike, but it is it's limited when it comes to bad weather and when there's a lot of corners. So disc brakes is good in some situations, but I still think rim brakes can function.
Okay.
So it's not like you have to sell your rim brake TT bike yet. You can still use it for some more years.
I like that. And how much of that's personal preference versus technical ability?
Yeah, I think the better rider you are, the more you can enjoy disc brakes, because you can just brake harder and you can do everything a bit harder. You know, you can brake just before the corner.
Yep.
But if you have rim brake, you have to be a bit more careful, and maybe if you're going slower, you don't need to brake that much. So I think the faster you're riding, the more you need for disc brakes.
Yep.
But rim brakes are still good. So don't sell your bike just yet.
That's good. On the bike front, you arrived here today on a motorbike. Let's talk a bit about this.
Yeah, it's just very practical. You know,
Okay.
in Bergen, like it is some traffic, even though it's a small town, and the parking is it's a bit outside of the swimming pool, so it's fast and practical, I would say.
Okay.
And it's fun.
Yeah. Well, you got your license in your downtime last year when you had some time off with the Achilles.
Yeah.
Was it always going to be the case? Were you always looking to do a motorbike license, or was it like, hey?
I wanted to take my license for 10 years, maybe even more.
Okay.
So I've been saying it for many, many years that I will take it, and now it was time.
Made sense. Okay.
Yeah.
And family's okay with it?
Yeah. My girlfriend, she's a doctor, and she's working with rehabilitation from major injuries. And she tried to scare me away from the motorbike, but I've been cycling for many, many years, and I do respect the speed, and I do respect the dangers. So for me, it is a fun way to get from training, and very practical.
Okay. And what does Olav say about it? I'm interested in his thoughts.
Olav is mostly saying that he could never take the license because he doesn't respect the speed. So I think he would crash sooner than me.
Okay.
I would say.
I like that.
Because like he is now, the statistics in Norway at least is older male adults who has taken the license a long time ago and decided now to buy a big motorbike because they now can afford it. So they buy like a 1,000cc motorbike.
Yep.
And Olav will definitely not buy a cheap one. He will like see the price list and doesn't really look at the specs, just like, the most expensive one, maybe 1,200cc. And then he will not realize that you still have to turn your bike. So I think he has his statistics against him.
Okay. I like that. I'll let it slide that you called Olav old.
I mean, he's older than me. He's 42, something? 40, no more, 43.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. And let's talk about another hobby you have outside of triathlon.
Yeah.
Photography.
Yeah.
Let's talk a bit about that.
Yeah, it's not been too much time with that the last few months. The house is taking some of the spare time of me. But I'm looking forward to take some like nice shots within the house and post it on Instagram stories, just to show how I am on the personal side. Just take some interior photos and the flowers. But I'm mostly into gardening right now. Looking after my the dendros and roses and the grass and my Japanese cherry tree and everything. So yeah,
that's very cool. Is it a cherry blossom tree?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
But it's a really short blossom season for those. So it's already over.
Yeah.
But it was nice the few weeks. It was nice.
Of course. And a garden, a vegetable garden at all, or no?
No.
Not growing any food.
Not growing anything yet.
Yeah, you're away too much. It's not going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe then my girlfriend will have to take care of the garden.
Oh, you heard it here first.
Yeah.
We heard it here first. I actually did see some photos you took of it. They were very nice.
Yeah.
This may age me. I'm not quite as old as Olav, but you might age me. You could do an MTV Cribs episode.
Yeah,
I'm not sure
I
if
think
you remember
me and Roche, we have already done a little bit. So I think it's either coming out on the the Clubhouse or on Centauri Tech YouTube channel. I don't know, but it is some videos from the house coming out for sure.
I like that. The MTV Cribs episode.
Yeah.
We'll have to pay them royalties. But and in the new house, do you have the Kona shoes there or not?
The original Kona shoes, they are at the On headquarters in Switzerland, so I don't have them at all.
Okay.
But I have some of the prototypes leading up to that shoes, and I have some unreleased prototypes that I can't talk about too much yet. And I have a decent training room now, but I have to build it out. I think I have to remodify my garage so that I have a good training room.
So what have you got there at the moment, and what are you going to get?
The treadmill is still in the old house because that's super heavy.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the time to get it out yet.
Yeah.
When we got it in, we actually had to take out the window.
Wow.
To get it in because it was impossible to get it through the door. So it's it's a Woodway style, but it's a Sportmaster treadmill. It's super nice, but heavy.
Yeah.
Heavy.
Those are very heavy.
Yeah.
And I mean, well, those protos will be released actually when this is released, which is a good news. So that people will be able to go out and get them because this will be released during the Olympic Games. Yeah. So they should be out by then, as I understand it. So, and if you're not sure about which ones, they're all over Instagram as well. So Gustav doesn't have to say too much. Everyone else has said it for him already.
Thank you, VO2 Master, for sponsoring this episode. VO2 Master is a great tool for me. Training is my job, and VO2 Master makes my job easier. So one of the great things about VO2 Master is that you can use it by yourself, and especially with the Garmin integration and a simple to use app. So you can use it for a lot of things. The way I use it is to sometimes measure efficiency when it comes to running technique or testing shoes, or there's a lot of different ways to test efficiency, and also out there in the real world testing VO2 max. It's good to go into the lab, but nothing beats the real world. That's where we're competing, and that's where we want to be the best. So VO2 Master helps us a great deal there.
So let's talk a bit more about shoes. Last time we talked a bit about you just getting back into carbon because of the Achilles. I think it was actually you had just tried the prototypes out, and that was the first time back in carbons, so that you could try them out. Are you doing a bit more in carbons now?
Very, very little.
Yep.
So I'm still not there where I'm like back, like running, as I mentioned in a previous podcast, is like very neuromuscular. It is difficult with the timing, and the carbon shoes make it a lot easier, but it's not easiness I need now. Now I need some really direct feedback. So I'm using, actually the ones I'm having on Cloud Surfer now, because they're thinner and you have more contact with the surface, and it's no plate to block your kind of sensation in the midfoot there. So I'm running very little with carbons. Yeah. Because I think the carbons made me lose a little bit of that fine tuning. And I mean, you can run a lot more volume with carbons, and it saves your legs quite a bit, but it's not always good. You need that fine tuning to really perfect your stride.
And you talked about hiking a bit in Font-Romeu in your first weeks there, and you also did a bit of hiking when you had your downtime from the Achilles. I remember seeing a couple of Instagram posts.
Yeah, and I still do hiking, yeah.
And so talk to us about how that fits into a week. I think people would be fascinated by this. I mean, people like me, many of our listeners would probably have to hike some of the hills just when we're out, maybe on the trails because of intensity control. But what does that look like for you? Is it about a pure hike? How do you think about that in terms of cardiovascular versus musculoskeletal load, all those things?
I think hiking when you're in good shape, it doesn't really hinder your training.
Yep.
Like a lot of people are afraid to go into mountains because it might get some sore muscles, so it's hard to fit into the schedule, because a hike would never be a hard run, so then it's most likely a hard run the day before or the day after. So but for me, I'm used to do the hikes and running and trail running, so I can do like a trail run the day before a track run without it hindering my performance on the track. So it's easier for me growing up with trail running and hiking to fit it into my schedule. But I think a lot of people would benefit from changing out one of their run session to a bit more of a hiking session, especially if you're not that good of a runner because you train a lot of different muscles, and it's like the balance and like the eye-foot coordination. So you can't just look down, you have to look forward, and then the body will like remember from the vision where the rocks are and everything. So I think trail running is a good if you can fit it into the training program. The issue is that most people are not used to it, and then it's too big of an impact, and then it takes too long time to get used to it, and you don't really benefit that much. So it is hard to get in, but trail running is definitely a benefit in my training.
Yeah, I think off season maybe get used to it and then bring it into the season.
Yeah.
How does that work for you from a hiking standpoint with a calorie budget as two things? Because these two things are in opposition, right? Now you've got a calorie budget, but you're going to go out and spend a bunch of calories hiking. Obviously, it's not super intense for you, but how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, the power required to hike is pretty low, actually. Like, it might feel tiring, but if you look at the actual caloric need from a hike is not very high. Okay. So like a run, it's much higher, or a ride is much higher. So like you can maybe burn 500 calories an hour if you're walking quite fast. So it's not that much. It's pretty chill.
Gotcha. And on that note, aside from hiking, maybe some photos and some gardening and time with your girlfriend, what are you doing to de-stress outside of triathlon? Obviously, we've talked a lot in this series about your stress levels and what that's brought, and some learnings you've taken about, needing to de-stress. We talked about even the stress going into Mallorca. So what are you doing to de-stress?
Everything that's included is basically all my time. Yep. I don't have that much time, but I think I don't do that much to de-stress now. I think now I'm more like my stress levels are quite low, but I'm more like not finished, because you're never finished, but I'm now kind of more done with the de-stressing part of my comeback. Now it's more the hunger to trigger the hunger more. And well, by hunger I mean like almost the desperation to perform again. And it's not easy to trigger that hunger where like everything that matters it's performance, but I kind of want to get back into there again.
So to summarize, you had a period where you had to de-stress, you had to take emphasis off triathlon, you had to just let the Achilles be, and you had to come to terms with, okay, the Achilles is going to be what it is, and I can't do more for it. I have to just let it settle down. I have to bring some other things in my life, ride a motorbike, do some gardening. That's been very helpful by the sounds of things. You're building back now, but now you're struggling to find that edge, that desperation to succeed and give that extra little bit maybe on race day. It's probably not too hard in training because it's all exciting and fun, but that race day is a little bit harder.
Also training is, training hard, it is hard.
Yeah.
So when you're like in it, then it's quite easy. If you're like pushing hard every day, then it's, you're getting used to it. But to push your body to the limit in training, it is not easy. And that's what I'm like triggering now. And I talked about earlier about the focus, how hard it is to focus over a longer period. It gets even harder when you're pushing harder.
Oh yeah.
So like the focus now, I would say that's pretty close to my previous best, but now it's more like to trigger the high performance and the hunger and the desperation and just that part of triathlon.
And I mean, people will be fascinated to hear that you guys struggle to go hard, right? But I mean, I'm serious, because most people probably think these guys were born with it, and I think them hearing that's super helpful to understand that. And what are you doing to regain that hunger? Is it a matter of, listen, I just need to get into a race, perhaps not do as well as I could, and then be motivated by that, or is it something else?
I don't have the recipe. I don't think that's something they teach anywhere, like the desperation or the hunger in training. I mean, it's a lot of published information on how to train your VO2 max and whatever, because it's so easily quantified. But it's not too much information on how to get desperate, that's a thing most people try to avoid, especially if you're just like finishing or if you are an age grouper and just want to have fun with it. But this is my job. My job is to perform, and like I guess it's some Instagram motivational videos in the finance world with like the tech bros or whatever, that you need to be on the grind 24/7, and it's kind of like the same with triathlon. You need to have that hunger, but I don't think the tech bros method of Instagram would help me too much. So I need to find my own recipe to get the desperation back.
Yeah. And any insight? I mean, have you had any success yet? Have you changed your hunger at all, or is it still just searching and it's a challenge
it's
for
still
you?
searching, and I will let you know when I find something.
Yeah. How are you going to let us know? Instagram? Is that what we're doing? Are we going to see a photo?
I will hit you up in the DMs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe on the clubhouse.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do some clubhouse.
Teaching there.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll put together a newsletter about you finding your hunger. Because jokes aside, this sort of stuff's really important, because understanding your why and how that drives you, right?
Yeah.
Some people, Kristian as an example, he's really motivated by not performing, right? He loves to be told he's not going to perform, hates losing. That's a huge driver for him. Obviously, you two are very different people, and that's something I've tried to highlight this series. Yeah. And so trying to find that and what motivates you is really, it's crucial, right? And as we change as humans, that will change, right? And you've probably gone through more change as a human in the last 2 years than most people do in a long time. So it'll be very interesting to see. I'm very keen to see.
But I'm kind of, I'm not afraid, but I'm now in a little bit in comfort mode. I wouldn't say I've settled down, but I mean, I just bought a house, and it's kind of the meaning of settle down. Yep. And I got a girlfriend, and so life is pretty comfortable. And when you're comfortable, you don't have that need to get out of the comfort zone. You don't have the desperation, because I made it. I am 3 times world champion, and I have done a lot of great things within the sport, but I'm also only 28, and triathlon is my life. It is what I really want to do, and it is the highlight of my day. But I don't have that desperation at the moment. But I would definitely say that I'm not done for sure. So I just need to find the trigger points, and it's easy to come and go in the sport, and we see it with a lot of athletes. They come and have a few great years, and then they maybe vanish. And it's not only in triathlon; it's in all sports basically. And the older I get, the more respect I get from people like Alistair and Jan Frodeno, and the ones that have been in the game for so long and been able to perform over so many years. And I want to be there as well. I don't want to be like 2018 to 22 athlete. I want to be until I feel like I'm done with triathlon, not because I just settled down from triathlon. So but it's, of course, I'm not where I want to be now, and I don't have the recipe to come back, but I'm for sure trying my best to figure it out.
You may not remember this, but in a previous episode that we recorded with you and Kristian, we made a bit of a joke about advice to young people, and you said, don't finish school, because a hungry man's a motivated man. Yeah. So but
I did finish school, sadly, so I have something to fall back on.
No, but it's an interesting point, right? Because you talk about desperation, you talk about hunger, you talk about all these things, and that's intricately linked to what you're talking about now, which is, I need to find that drive of this not being comfortable. I want to get out of it and find something else that's going to motivate me. And maybe that's Nice, maybe it's Kona, maybe it's all those things, right? Maybe you need to have some runs on the board. It'll be very interesting to see there.
Thank you for Morten for sponsoring this episode. I've been using Morten for many years. Before I was official with Morten, I was unofficial, and I used it for a lot of racing, even before I got started with them like as a partner. I usually use the 320, both in training and racing, and sometimes I even use the caffeine gel in the morning if I don't bother to drink some coffee, just to get a good start of the day. I use the solid 160 for a lot of my training, and especially post-training. I love the oat, or the natural taste, the best. For me, the oat is the goat. But the Morten 320 is a revolutionary product, and it helped me for so many trainings and victories over the years. So Morten is truly groundbreaking sports nutrition. For 20% discount on Morten, check the show notes for the details. Yeah.
I mean, you also talked about just then that you don't want to be, an athlete who is good for, say, 4 or 5 years. How do you think about your legacy in triathlon? Is it something you think about at all, or not really?
If I quit now, it wouldn't be like a big legacy. It would just be, it would be a decent run, but nothing crazy, There's a lot of young guys coming and going, and I would just be, maybe one of the better ones, but not something to really remember within the sports. But I do want to have a legacy.
And what would you hope that to be? So when all said and done, you decided, listen, I've done my last race, I'm walking away. How do you want to be remembered?
I don't know. I think no matter how the story finish, I think the story from me and Kristian would still be legendary. It is unique for two people to come from the same town and train together for the whole career, and winning as much as we have done. Together we have won everything from short distance to long distance, and it's kind of crazy. So I think the partnership between me and him would definitely be remembered, but I'd also want to be remembered for myself and not only for the duo. So but I don't know, I don't think too much about that at the moment. I'm just wanting to get back to be desperate.
Yeah. And that was actually something I was going to ask you, is how do you feel about the link with you and Kristian? Obviously, as friends, training partners, it's really important. You have been very vocal about you guys want each other to succeed, but from a legacy or a media or all of that standpoint, how do you feel about being linked so often? I mean, we've done episodes with you, with both of you. We've done episodes with you separately. How do you think about that, and how do you feel about it?
I think it is beneficial.
Yep.
So I think it's good for both of us.
Yep.
But as you also said, we are two quite different people, and I think the differences makes us also a great duo. But it's also sometimes hard to be with someone who is quite different. But I think I would never be where I am now without Kristian as a training partner. So in the end, it's a huge gain for me, and hopefully it's also a gain for him.
Well, I mean, he told me you didn't lead any of the reps in the track sessions, so maybe not so much of a gain.
But you have seen the braking too, Yep. It was not only pacers in front, it was also behind to get the arrow.
Okay.
So it also helps someone behind pushing. It's not only in front.
Yeah. Especially if there's no tailwind. If there's a tailwind, maybe it's a hindrance.
Yeah. Don't talk about tailwind.
I like that a lot. And we talked previously on a podcast about the way you and Kristian modify training. We sort of mentioned some potential staying involved with triathlon post-career. Is that still something, or is that something that you've thought about? Do you want to stay in triathlon post-career? Would you like to go coaching? Or is it listen, when I'm done, I really want to walk away? Or is it too early to say, given it's so far away?
I think coaching would be fun, but I don't think I would do. I think for me it would be better to do juniors or that kind of coaching. I'm not that interested in in the one-to-one age groupers or that kind of thing. I think doing the juniors or kids or whatever, I think that's more fun to see the real joy in sport and not the one who wants to do it from themselves.
Yeah, you talked a bit about wanting a group as well, not just wanting individuals, and I think that makes a ton of sense. And we actually, it's a common misconception that juniors require less skill or less ability or that. It's actually the crucial part of the development. I think
you need less actual training knowledge. I think you can have a little bit less, but you need to have the ability to make them learn it themselves, because I think that's also a huge part of triathlon, to really learn how to do it yourself and not just getting told what to do. So if you have like the ability to communicate to the juniors how they can learn themselves, I think that's a great tool.
Yeah, because I mean, you're out there for a long time by yourself, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you had KB for a bit of Kona, but for the most part, a lot of solo time. So you need to be able to troubleshoot yourself. You need to be able to make decisions, understand intensities, all that stuff. So you need to have that self-sufficiency to be able, and that autonomy to be able to make those decisions.
For sure.
I think that's a really good lesson for age groupers to hear as well, is like you need to develop that. And I've heard you talk previously about also not being reliant on data, right? So having the data so that you don't need it on race day. Of course you have it, but you don't want to be reliant on it. And I think that's a very similar thing that we're talking about here, which is a level of self-insight, intuition, and ability to make decisions, maybe without data, maybe with data, without people, etc.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good place to end it, Gustav. It's been absolutely a pleasure. So thank you so much. And this is the end of our sort of initial 9 episodes of the Norwegian Method podcast. We will have some more stuff coming on this feed, so do subscribe, do like the podcast, and share this one. And just wanted to thank you again for your time.
Thank you, and hope season 2 is even better than season 1.
Well, I know that you two are not very competitive at all, and probably not competitive with all love, so you won't be checking statistics and trying to tell him that you've done better.
Yeah.
He would say something like you guys stood on the shoulders of all of the subscriptions that he got you. So
maybe it's true, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, mate. You take care.
Thank you.
The Norwegian Method.